Live from the New Beginning Christian Church studio, it's Behind the Congregation with your host from Money Earning Mount Vernon, Minister Paul Brown. New Beginning Zone Elder Christy Ford and Gregory L. Williams Jr. Let's go to our hosts and Behind the Congregation.
Welcome to another edition of Behind the Congregation. It's good to be here today. How y'all doing today?
He just called me Gregory L. Williams. I'm going to have to talk to him after. I don't know who L is. Gregory A. Williams. Can we?
that must be another guy.
Yeah. Somebody else.
Elder, how you feeling?
I'm doing great.
You doing good?
Doing great.
Yeah.
Doing good.
Even though you didn't know the taping of the show was today, you still doing good?
Bump, bump. You know, that was the bus that just went by. Bump, bump.
So I'm texting earlier. You know, we do this thing where we text in the group me and then we text solo. You know, so anyway, Elder Ford, we have to do that because Elder Ford, she kind of turns her notifications off. So anyway.
That's because if anybody ever have group me on their telephone and have talkative people on there, your phone constantly goes off. And, you know, I figured out you can mute the notifications. So then when I look back, they have had 2 days worth of conversation that I wasn't privy to. So, you know.
Basically, she's trying to
it
say
is what it is.
Producer,
why is Greg holding his mic like that?
Let's get a shot.
It ain't ice cream, Greg. It's a mic.
Sexual chocolate.
You just gonna drop the mic. You gonna drop the mic. That's not how R. Kelly holds his mic.
Let me find out.
Look at that. Oh.
Sexual chocolate.
I might could be in the choir.
He good.
Oh man.
He good.
Look,
that brother good right there.
I can see him doing the two-step. But anyway. Okay, so basically what I was saying was Elder Ford today, she had put something up on Facebook, a post, and I said that would be a great topic for Hot Topics tonight. And then she's going to text me and say, oh, the show is tonight? Oh, my God. How
I'm
you
sorry.
Be a co-host of the show and don't know that the taping is tonight.
It's a live taping. Look, I had to do the hair slick to make these sides down and, you know, got my on-camera color on, which I try to tell Greg, put on camera colors.
Last time I wore yellow,
and now
she called
he's
me a
blending
banana.
in.
Last time I wore yellow, you called me a banana, didn't I? Now who's wearing yellow?
Shakira.
Yeah. Shakira that.
Shakira.
Now, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
But, you know, I would applaud him, you know, because he did, you know, put some lotion on them knees. But anyway, so Hot Topic, we were talking.
Yeah, so in the news.
Not a panic. That was a good one, Mike.
Man. Yeah, so let's get to Hot Topics before this turns into a circus.
Okay, okay.
The circus is down at the airport, guys. Come on. So anyway, in the Hot Topics, in the news, right? Creflo Dollar, there's a rumor going around. There is a rumor now that one of his church members has come out in the news saying that Creflo Dollar, basically, this whole thing for the plane, a petition for the plane, is just a smokescreen, and it's really to pay for his $8 million mansion that was built outside of Atlanta. What do y'all think about that?
I think it's a rumor because I was searching on because since he is such a hot topic, ABC, Reuters, NBC, Fox News, Time Warner Cable News, everybody would have had at least some kind of marquee under the bottom of the television with the indication that this really, truly happened. I think it was photoshopped, and I don't think that unless it comes out. But if you read the article, it says that they caught him with all the money on the table and him just trying to gather money. And, you know, with a mega ministry like that, they won't have money. They have a team of counters, and then all of them will be in the room. And 9 out of 10 times, he will not ever go in that room. And so I just think it was just bogus, something else to talk about.
I totally agree. What about you, Greg? What do you think? What are your thoughts?
Hold the mic. His mic, so go ahead.
I'm not sure. I'm on the fence, man. So I just
on the fence.
You can't
because he
first
still
of all,
want to
you gotta
ride the
check
plane.
Source. You gotta check the source, and majority of stuff you see on Facebook is fake. So
All right.
I
It's called
agree.
fake book.
Fake
I
book.
I totally think that it's a rumor. Basically, it looks like the mugshot that was used is the same mugshot that was used when he got arrested for child abuse, was it, or because he spanked this child, or something
She
like
snuck
that.
out.
So
Exactly.
anyway, make a long story short, I don't give the story any credit, but I do want to mention though one of the things that he is in the news for about the plane. I do want to mention that there was a conversation going on The View. I know some of you out there watch The View, and just to hear their perspective kind of goes back to what I was trying to say. You know, a lot of people, you got to get the people's perspective a lot of times. Coming from the church, being a minister, yes, I do believe that the man of God should be blessed. The man of God should have beautiful things. I believe all of that. But sometimes you have to have answers for the people, though, okay? And the people have questions. The people, when I say the people, I mean the
Notice
people
he's
that are,
preaching.
uh,
Can you pan
Well,
us
well,
back?
when I
Because if
say
you put all of us
the
on camera,
people,
then he
I
might
mean
stop.
the people that are giving their hard-earned money, but maybe not have enough faith to believe God.
Oh
for
my
a
God! I
meal
just can't do it. I can't.
the
I
next
can't.
day.
I can't. I
Okay?
can't. I
Because
can't.
a lot
I
of
can't.
times we want to deal in, yeah, you will be blessed if you sow, the whole sow and reaping process. And trust me, I'm a minister. I believe in that. But I also speak for the people because the people want to know, is it necessary to have a $68 million plane when there are people that cannot even afford a meal for them and their children?
But everybody always do that. You know, we had this conversation on Facebook, and they always do the eat your peas because there are hungry children in Africa. It's people in Africa, especially in areas that is more rich than the United States. They're more prosperous than the United States. But of course, we always use that continent as some kind of poverty parallel example for us not being able to do something successful here. I think that when we're still talking about the plane issue, let me use an example. My son works for the American Red Cross. He put out a solicitation for blood donors, right? And because it's not money, you won't get the ridicule for him asking. Social media, but because hardly anybody responded, because we're talking about blood, something that can help. One bag will help 3 people or 7 people, but no one really came out to do it.
Yeah, I saw that. He actually said he's not looking for likes. He's looking for volunteers. Good point, Chris. The people. This is what I don't get. You ever watch wrestling? You ever watch wrestling?
Yes.
You remember The Rock? You remember The Rock?
Yes.
The people's.
People's champion.
He needs the people's eyebrow.
Yeah,
I'm so tired
yeah.
of that, man.
Guess what? The Rock is
people-
cooking.
Yeah, exactly. The people, whatever. Can you ride the plane?
But
Can
it's
you ride the plane?
it's
Elder
for the
Ford?
even
Can the people ride the plane?
no, it's for his administrative staff. And you know what? When we get on this subject, I tell you, just like we know, we're behind the congregation. It's many opinions. It's several opinions.
I think that if you're a member of his church and you believe in his ministry, you should support what he's trying to do. And if you are following God, if you're not following him, you're following God. If you believe he's ordained by God and he's on a mission, then support it. That's between you and God.
Point
And
blank.
Point blank. And as far as being able to ride on the plane, the point I want to bring out, what Greg is saying is, if I pay my $300 and the plane belongs to the ministry, if I have an emergency where I need to get somewhere and the plane is not being used, can I get a ride on the jet?
No, absolutely not. Because everybody's going to have an emergency.
Get my money back.
Yeah.
We'll be back with Behind the Congregation with our topic of blended families. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Behind the Congregation. We have an interesting topic that we're going to talk about this evening. It's going to be talking about blended families. First, I want to say that I am a part of a blended family. My wife had 3 kids before we got married, and I had 1, and now we have 1 together. So it's kind of interesting now, bringing the whole blended family thing together. Elder Ford?
I have a beautiful daughter, from a previous marriage, and I have a 28-year-old son from when I was a teenager. And then when I got married, my husband, he has 2 daughters, and we have one together. So we are shaken but not stirred.
Amen.
Ah, y'all
Shaken-
like that. Y'all like
shaken
that.
But not stirred. Whatever that
Yeah.
means. How about you, brother?
Ah, you
Brendan?
know what that means. Everybody know what that means. You try whatever.
I got one baby mama. I'm just joking. When she see that, she gonna kill me.
You're like, I got my one baby mama.
I got one wife and 2 boys. But here we go.
Here we go.
I got like 3 or 4 stepmoms though. You know what I'm saying? Growing up, I done had a bunch of them. But, yeah, so I was in blended families, a bunch of them.
Oh, that's good. I mean, the perspective is real.
That's okay.
Yeah, like I think.
But
of
let
my
me ask you
stepmom
this.
as a
Can I
kid.
start the conversation off with this? Why I don't agree with the word step. I told Kalisha when we were developing our relationship, Kalisha is my husband's she's now 19, the 19-year-old. When we were getting to know one another, and I said that when you introduce me, if you don't want to introduce me as your new mom, then introduce me as Christy. But do not introduce me as your stepmother. And since we've been married 5 years now, I've never called her my stepdaughter. Never addressed her like that. Because I believe steps are meant to walk on.
I call all my stepmoms. I don't know because I can't call my mom is my mom, and realistically, I don't even feel comfortable calling her mom.
Well, I think it has something to do with the dynamics of the household.
Well, you gotta, if you're a step parent, you have to establish that bond with the child. You gotta have a relationship with that child before I'm gonna start calling you mom.
Well, that's what I just said. When we were developing our relationship, it was an agreement. Now, what were you going to say about the blended, like Medea, blended families, the blended families?
Oh, I get a word. I can talk.
Yeah, it's your show.
Oh, okay.
It's your show. Look, we just honored to be here, right, Greg? We just honored to
Surprised I
be
gotta say
here.
anything, honestly. It's not the last 2 minutes.
If we go public.
Honored to be sitting in the presence of greatness.
Yes,
But anyway.
yes. We just.
It has been an interesting ride having an 18-year-old new daughter, a 15-year-old new son, and a 6-year-old new son, and you're coming in the only one.
What do you deal with when you want to chastise and you got the one that will hear what you're saying and be obedient, but then you got the one that say, you ain't my daddy?
Punch him in the throat.
You know, the discipline, you know, I have so many stories, which I won't go into, but the discipline is the toughest thing. Because right up from the start, you have to be able to communicate with your spouse how we are going to discipline these kids. Because if you think you coming in as a man who has the provision or the vision for the house, and part of your vision is to discipline the kids, you got to make sure you check with that wife before you discipline her child. Because when it comes to discipline,
Especially
that's her child.
the boys. Especially the boys. Because one of the things that I found out is that especially I had my son 4 years prior to my first marriage. I was married 18 years. And the discipline was always in question because he may want to tell him to sit down, and I've been telling him to stand up for 4 years. And so then that means I had to learn how to submit that train of thought to the sit down, because I think that the stand up is what he needs. You understand what I mean? Like, you know, it's hard when you want to submit in that agreement, and you have to know what's best. And then when we had a Rhema together, it was one of those things that the discipline still was in question, because then that became his ownership and CJ became my property. You know?
I want to ask Greg, when it comes to discipline, do you decide, does she decide, or you sit down together? Did you guys sit down together and decide how you're going to discipline your kids?
No, honestly, in my household, she deals with the major stuff. No, the minor. She deals with most of the stuff.
Major, minor, and everything.
I deal with the major stuff. So if it's category 10, Dad handles it. Mom handles 90% of the discipline. I don't have to.
So the question is, though, that was something that just happened, or did y'all discuss
we
that?
really don't discuss it. We vibe off of each other,
Good.
to be honest with you. We don't really just.
I like what he
just-
said, vibe
Yeah,
off
we
of
vibe
each other.
We know. I mean, I've been with my wife. Actually, the 19th of April will be 12 years. So my anniversary's coming up, and so I know. And we also had an agreement. Had something happen between one of us, ain't nobody discipline my boys.
Well, see,
Yeah, he
was
stuck that in his
what-
anniversary.
well, yeah, that was a happy anniversary. Yeah. Whatever. We talking about blended families, like whatever, Yeah, hashtag. What do you say? I love my wife. I love my wife. Yeah. Whatever.
Is this almost over?
Yeah, hashtag marriage now. But I would want to say this though. When you have a blended family and y'all are sitting down together, I think it's very important because we did have those, in our family. It's 5 of us all together. We were all up under one roof before I had Danae. And you have to have a sense of communication, but you leave it up to the children to get along. Because I had to learn not to make it look like I'm favoring Rayma over Kalisha and Danique. I had to make sure that I was able to love them without Rayma feeling slighted or without Kalisha or Danique feeling slighted. And we had to learn how to get along with one another.
Because
What I was gonna say is that's how my house was when I was a young person, and people look at me on the outside looking in, saying, "Well, Greg was so spoiled as a child growing up because my grandmother, who's the person who really raised me, we lived in." Check this out. So me, my dad, my stepmom, and my grandmother lived in one house. My dad and my third stepmom had a child, right?
you lost me already. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I'm with you.
Okay, so
Stepmom number 3
stepmom number 3, they
had a child.
Had a child, and
1 and 2
it
didn't have
caused
kids.
so much division between me and my stepmom because my grandmother did more for me.
Right,
than
the
she did
initial
for that
child. Because you was the
Because
initial.
That child had a mom and a dad there,
Right.
and I didn't.
But
That's where
that
it's
that
tricky.
goes back to
That's
go
where it's
ahead.
tricky.
That's where that is exactly because one of the great things about all of this is that Danae has the advantage in the house, but she's younger and they're all adults. They're all gone and with their own lives. But I can see with Kalisha was the last one to be in the house, and I had the opportunity to gain a relationship with her, which I appreciated that. And you couldn't tell that Kalisha and Arema wasn't birthed from the same mother,
I didn't know
regardless
until
of which
now.
one.
Honestly, the way y'all vibe, I didn't know.
See, that was the point. That was the point.
I think that's great. When we come back, we'll talk more about blended families behind the congregation. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Behind the Congregation. We're sitting here talking about blended families. This is a very interesting conversation because nowadays you have a lot of families that are blended. And when you come in from a blended family background, it's really tough. When we were talking about discipline earlier, and then we got on to how one can be spoiled more than the other. And then over here with Elder Ford, we got into how she treated all her children the same. But that's not the norm.
No, it's not the norm, but I believe it's possible because one of the things that just crossed my mind, like with Greg May can speak to this, and that is the discipline aspect of it. When because I always had in the back of my mind of the "you're not my mother" or "you ain't my mama" kind of thing. I had that in the back of my mind. So what I did was approach it with a very delicate situation. And I did it through talking. I didn't do it through yelling. I didn't do it through Rayma, my child. She never, we didn't have to discipline her. She could count on her hands how many times she may have gotten a spanking. So then, therefore, they know I'm a talking mom. I'm not the.
We know.
Wow, there go that bus again, charter bus with my name on it. Ba-bum bump. He is good at that. Money earning Mount
I couldn't
Vernon.
be disciplined by none of my stepmoms. None of my stepmoms could put their hands on me because you were not my mama.
Well, see, that was how my husband was raised, because he was raised by his grandparents. So y'all have something in common with that.
I pulled a knife on mine. We fought. Police been to the house several times. We went at it.
Well, that's because they set a boundary that you could do that. You know what I mean? Like you somewhere in your mind, you had to know that you could fight your stepmom and just
Well,
could.
I mean, I was no, but here's the funny part about it. It all happened when my dad wasn't there.
Of course it
But,
did. Of course it did.
But I could not. And what's even more crazy about it? Now we cool.
But
Well,
you're
know,
grown
Normally
and
when
understand.
You become a grown person, a lot of
Yeah,
times
when you be
start to
now, I
become
look
cool
back
with
at
your
her, man,
parents.
because she is. I have a younger brother, and that's his mom. And whenever I've been down there to see her several times, and we cool. And
You know, go ahead. I saw the deep breath.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
shout out to Money Earning Mount Vernon.
I knew
where
we were
grew
going
up.
there.
Anyway, I came into my blended family, and people, if they know my personality, probably will say, yeah, we believe that. I came in with an iron fist, okay? And dealing with two boys, I thought that was the best way was to come in with an iron fist, because you're trying to help them become men. And I came in with an iron fist, and it caused a problem right from the start. My advice to you, young man, that plan on marrying a woman that has children already, do not come in with an iron fist. Talk it out. The discipline for those children. Make sure that you both agree on what that discipline. Because if you come from two different backgrounds, when we got married, my wife was a certain age, and she grew up that. See, I ain't dumb. But I was 35. So for 35 years, I grew up one way, and then for the amount of years how old she was, she grew up one way. So we both came from different backgrounds and had different views. Okay, so it caused the issue when I came in with my background, wanting to raise her kids like I wanted my kids to be raised.
Well, I can understand that because that was one of the things that we began to understand, and we had an agreement. But let me tell you something from my experience. A man, if you marry a man that has daughters, be very sensitive because those are his girls. And then you have to understand that he is torn between making sure that his daughters are not feeling like you come in and taking their place or taking the place of their mom. And then you have this, this tug of war going on, and you giving advice because females, because our situation was different, that he end up raising his daughters. And so when we got our household together, he was with his daughters. And so what happened was when he was very cautious and very protective over them, and the advice that I would give, sometimes he may have second guessed my advice because of the fact that they were so accustomed to being raised another way. But what ended up happening was we began to develop a concept and develop a strategy on how to deal with one another and our children. And I was very overprotective with my son because he's 28 now, but he was going through some things. And then the advice that my husband gave me for him, thank God I listened, and then we were able to come together with a sense of agreement of how to raise him.
Okay, mine's short.
Go ahead, Greg.
That's so ugly.
Mine's
Now,
short.
I was stalling,
said.
and he had some things to do, and he wasn't on stage, ladies and gentlemen. So I was helping him out while he was doing whatever he was doing till he came. Did not you see the shadow go by? That's how they do. That's how they do. You got 2 minutes.
I got more work to do, so can you zoom in on Greg?
Yeah, no, zoom in, stay right here, because you're going to be going right back. My advice for all you young men that are looking to marry somebody with children is real simple. Run! Get away! Don't do it!
See, that wasn't even
That's
right.
all I gotta say.
That wasn't even right.
Run!
You know what? I'm telling you, it's funny.
Oh, I'm trying.
It's funny. And let me explain something to you. If you don't really love that woman like that, and you will know before you ask her to marry you how you really feel about them kids. And if you don't have a good relationship with those kids, and we're all together, do what Greg said.
Run. Don't mess with no kids'
Run.
emotions,
Don't
man.
do it. Don't do it to yourself.
Kids are so.
Because it's not going to change. If it's not
Yeah.
good before, it's not going to
Run.
just become good all of a sudden.
And you will know, you will know. Because if you go into the marriage with a preconceived idea that I'm going to change them and they're going to come up under my authority, you ain't changing.
You ain't
Yes.
change yourself.
Yes. You got,
nobody's kid.
and especially if you end up marrying a woman with a spoiled brat like Gregory A. Williams, run. Yes.
As soon as I pull up to pick you up, are you
he-
my daddy? No, it's your daddy. And get out my truck.
Oh my
Oh
God.
my
I got to pay
God.
for all your kids when you go out to eat. This can't just be me
No
and
tax
you.
write off.
No,
Yeah,
I'm just
either.
saying.
But to ride out on a
Baby's
serious-
kids.
To ride out on a serious note, though,
Run.
I think it's possible.
it is Elder Ford. It is possible, but I'm telling you right now, it's one of the hardest things you will ever do if you run into a situation that you probably shouldn't be in.
Well, I look at it also like this in our last 18 seconds is the fact that get counseling. Get counseling. And that's why we do hashtag Marriage Matters, and we deal with subjects like this on Behind the
And
Congregation.
after counseling and when you leave church, run.
Hey, thanks again for another edition of Behind the Congregation. We thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time on Behind the Congregation. Peace. Yeah.